we have managed to do this. But that's what the live is all about, and that's why most people don't do live. Welcome, Aoife. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hello, hello, Lex.
Hello. Well, I'm just going to say a word about you based on what I know. And then you can expand on more if you want to introduce yourself differently. But what I know about you, Aoife, is that you are a disruptor. You teach women founders how to step into the leadership in a non-conventional way. And that's what I always loved about your work is you never do mainstream. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. We've been around each other for a while now, Lex. And it's remained the same. I believe that we either self-disrupt or we self-destruct. So we make that choice. And positive, conscious disruption just makes everything better. We're constantly evolving, constantly moving. There is no linear path. And I think once we take a linear approach to something that is freedom bound, that's when things choke. So we want freedom.
And
We
that's why
start
I
our
love that
business.
you're here today is because, as you know, we're diving into the whole conversation on tips and tricks, how you stay on your A game. And I think that what you just shared is a crucial part of it. Because if someone's just running around trying to eat chips, survive, they can't fully show up in their authentic disruptor role, right?
True.
Can do that. All right, awesome. So everyone knows you for your business, and those who don't know you just heard a little bit about you. But what do people close to you know that most people don't?
That I absolutely know everything will work out when there is a clean, sharp, fast decision, guttural decision made. So I don't overthink anything. I just do it. I get in
I
touch
love
with
it.
my gut and then I roll with it. Because decision fatigue is one sure way to stay stagnant. I mean, I'm speaking to you here from Malta, having lived my whole life in Ireland, and that decision just came to me, and I said, right, if I look for every reason that a woman in her mid-40s as a solo parent with a 4-year-old little girl shouldn't move to Malta and sell up everything she knows and everything she owns, I'll find every single perfectly acceptable reason. So I decided
Yep.
not to look for that. And I decided to book our flights and then engineered everything on that conviction to make it happen. We're here a year next month.
What you just said is that keyword conviction. I keep speaking of that all the time. I have never seen a more powerful force in our lives than when we have conviction. And I'm getting into this whole thing now about finding how to actually create that, right? Because we're not manifesting things and, all of that. Look, we are creators, co-creators for those who believe in higher power. And I saw this quote one time that said, the mistake that people make is assuming there's a right and a wrong decision. You have a decision and the whole universe will align with whatever it is that you decide. And then you go with it. And I love what you did, because if you were looking for logical reason why to move or why not to move, you would find the equal amount of both.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's what you want, right? So
Absolutely.
I've known you for years and I've known the changes you've been through, a lot of them. Why has taking care of yourself become important to you, or why was it always important to you?
Well, as you know, I mean, when we first found each other, I would have been my physical health. I had my daughter when I was in my 40s, so I was labeled the geriatric mother. But I can attest that you're meant to have kids in your 20s as opposed to your 40s, biologically so and physically so, although she is a blessing, but I'm kept on my toes. Um, so I had a lot of health struggles, a whole lot of health struggles. I think my body was under a whole lot of stress. And I think I also had a lot of emotional stress and relational stress with that because I was staying in the middle of decisions. I just want to bring you back to the 11th of October 2024, Lex. I went to my doctor. I had been very, very ill. with diabetes when I was pregnant with my daughter, and it had dogged me. Even though the diabetes had gone, it hadn't gone. And it's in the family. And the doctor was about to prescribe me with some sort of injection pen. And that was the moment that I went, no, this is out of control. So I walked the long way home, and I'm now just shy of 4 stone lighter. From walking every single day, from looking after my sleep, from all the things that I used to do previous to having my daughter at nearly 41. And I've really prioritized that now, really prioritized that again. And the dividend and the fruits are back. I mean, I'm not taking any injections, I'm not taking any medication. I literally have taken back that control, that sovereignty around my health. And also, I'm acutely aware as an older mother as well of mortality, and that, and as a solo parent, it's compounded. I am literally all she has in this world. So we've got to start taking things seriously. I've never felt better. My cardio is wonderful. With the hills in Malta, the gradient is something like this everywhere that you turn. And it's just taking back that control, because you've got to be it in order for it. Like that conviction we spoke around, it bends around you. It bends around you. So I had let it kind of go because I had other priorities, but I took them back. I took that back. So
I
there you
think
go.
that's very important to say, is because some people have had ability to maintain that throughout the
Mm,
whole career. Some
mm,
people haven't. And most of us, when we start a business, it goes up and down, right? And at first it could be survival. And I think you had your girl, she's 4, so you had her during COVID too, right? So there was
mm,
a lot more happening. For some, COVID was the bias thing, for some it wasn't, and for some it was just the fact that it was a shift. And I think what's
mm,
important there is that you said, I was this. I lost her for a moment because of all the other
mm,
things, the indecisions. I made tough decisions, and that was that, again, decision, conviction, where you said, I'm
mm.
taking charge of this.
Yeah.
And again, what you said earlier is we we can't go based on how we feel. Our feelings are, like children, right? Like if I don't feel like it, I'm not going to do it. And most of us adults run that way until we come to a point where we're like, okay, I made a decision. I'm sticking to my
Mm-hmm.
decision. I'm not basing this off of how I'm feeling, because the whole feeling is based on who I was, and I'm stepping into that next version of
Yeah.
me. I'm stepping into that with that stepping in.
Mm.
What woman, what kind of woman, who are you becoming in this season of your life?
Who am I becoming? Um, for me, I'm 24 years in business. Various different business. So I built offline and online. For me, I've done it every which way, and I think for me now, I'm after a rich real life, and you can have both. I've proven it time and time again that you can have both. If you decide to have both, you can have both. I've deconditioned a lot, Lex, and um, a lot has been deconditioned of the old identity. Um, for me, I want to be able to have more of both, but I don't want to be defined by my business anymore. I don't want to be defined by what is in the bank or what's not in the bank. I mean, I'm in a very lucky position that I no longer have any mortgages or anything like that. That wasn't always the case. But I'm preparing to wait to see how that falls. My business is funding a very rich real life right now. I know where I'm going in terms of my corporate arm and in terms of my private client arm. And I'm in a really good space at the minute. And I think it's that allowing myself without shame to step into the unknown. Because when you have that trust, there is no linear way. So with that conviction, I'll take the steps that are necessary. I can turn it on, I can turn it off, depending on if it's corporate, depending on if it's, and that comes from my experience and knowing. I always liken this to a hill start. When you're learning to drive, so
Yeah.
you have to learn that bite point, and that's energetics. That's the flow. That is you and your leadership, and knowing when to accelerate or when to hold back. So who am I becoming? I'm becoming the woman that can solo parent. I'm doing it. That can move across the continent, that can develop offline businesses, different businesses than what you see online. I'm also non-executive director in two other companies. I do other bits and bobs, but have I one particular identity that I'm stepping into? No, it's fluid because I have an effectuated identity. Like I have mitigated all risk at this stage after nearly a quarter of a century, and that's a good place to be.
I love it. The previous conversation was with a woman who spoke highly of her solid marriage that she has. And this conversation was with a solo parenting woman who's running so much. And I love that because I don't want any of the viewers or listeners to think, well, their situation is different. They have a better support system. They have all of those are, again, fall under the indecision part. Because we've seen, if we were looking for a story of someone who was not supposed to succeed and did, we can find it. But if we're looking for a story to only confirm that others have had it better than us, we're going to find just as many stories,
Absolutely.
right? So it goes back to the decision making. And I love how open you're staying to who you're stepping into. It's not, again, it's that one step at a time. So what are some things that you do consistently that people might overlook?
Champions are brilliant at the basics. I do the basics and I do them really well. Really, really, from monomaniacally start to finish, the basics get done every single day. And that is from a business point of view, a parenting point of view. I'm my own watchdog in terms of my personal leadership, because if you drop the ball as a woman in your personal leadership, it's a contagion in your business. So being your
Yeah,
own watchdog is really, really
absolutely.
important. Really, really
How
important.
we feel, right? Yeah.
Mm. Mm. And integrity. I mean, we hear about integrity a lot, but it's when nobody is watching. It's when no one is watching. That's it. It's in the micro moments. I think in the micro moments. It's not this big crescendo. It's the sum total of all the micro bits and bobs. And I think being congruent, fluent as well. You know me on a personal level from years ago as well. I am the same person that meets the girl for coffee, the friend for coffee, or turns up in a corporate, or as a mother. There is no facade with me, and that's that's a place that took a lot to get to, Rex. You know, a lot of identity shifts to get to here.
Yeah. Would you say that's what makes you feel powerful, beautiful, and confident today is the fact that you worked to become that version of you?
Um, I think I think yeah. I mean, these days, the biggest freedom. I believe that entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development exercise we'll ever undertake. And when we start out, we don't know what we don't know, but we go through that process of evolution if we self-disrupt along the way. Okay. Um, to get to a point where there's fluidity in who we are as just one person, as opposed to many different versions of us. For me, that is nirvana. That's the freeing part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
love
love it.
that. Now,
Mm.
I want to talk a little bit more as far as being a woman, because we're after 40s, and many women start feeling differently after their 40s. Some of them will say that symptoms, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, or other things catching up with them, can take over their lives. Would you share if that has been your experience, or what has been your experience, and what do you do differently? Or what do you simply do to not let that affect you in any way?
I think you're asking the wrong person, because I blame everything on tiredness with a small child in my mid 40s. No, I'm just tired. We were swimming in the Med this morning at 7:42 a.m. We went snorkeling, so it's to tire her out so that I can then do a little bit of work. Um, for me, it is that mind over matter. If I go online, I don't follow anyone online. Um, if I follow on someone online around menopause or perimenopause or that, I'm 46. I've just turned 46. I'll find all the scary stuff online. So I've chosen that when this arrives on my doorstep, it'll arrive on my doorstep, and I'll deal with it then. I haven't any signs of it just yet. But as 40s, I mean, we are slowing down. We're in a different season. I believe we are. We're seasonal. I definitely am tireder. I also have absolutely no desire to entertain anything that isn't beneficial to me or I to them. I'm here for my people, and that is it. The unconventional, for the peculiar, the mavericks, the entrepreneurs, and they get me and I get them. I don't explain myself to anybody. I want everyone to win, mind, but I think that that ultimate knowing of whom we are. I mean, that's the biggest refreshing thing. You meet a woman in her 40s, and there's certain women that yeah, she's reached that same point of me, not in a an apathetic or a rebellious thing either. It's just it's that surety. It's that yeah, we've been through the seasons.
Absolutely.
Here we are now. You know.
Yeah, and I think this also leads into the next question on energy, but I think what you just shared too is I don't know if it's the tiredness. From what I've observed, it's that we become so selective of where our energy goes. So people can claim, well, in 20s I was able to do all of that and I was able to get away with it. And I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, puberty is different than 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. Like each decade can be different, but it doesn't need to affect us, right? Like it doesn't have to disrupt us. It can be, I tell women, it's an upgrade. It's showing you who you were always meant to be. And it's showing you that you can't keep ignoring that, right? Like where our energy goes, who it goes on is very different in 20s and 30s and 40s because of what you just said, because we step into that version of ourselves where it's like, I'm very intentional,
Yeah,
right?
and I do love what you said there, but the whole who we were supposed to be, I kind of would reframe that and challenge that a little bit, and it's who we always were without the projections, without the societal paradigm of women, for example. We're only doing this 50 years. Can we all just take a step back here? The Equality Act came into Ireland and the UK, I think 78. I was born in 80. Contraception, early 70s. So women are out there doing this, and we're the first generation really in, right? We get called multitaskers. Now that's a backhanded compliment, if you ask me. We've been by society positioned to do it all, but parity is here now, and you are bang on. We can be
Exactly.
more selective. The parity is here. We don't have to perform or peacock anymore. It's here. It's here right now. So with age comes wisdom, and us as the older hybrid, one foot in the old, one foot in the new leaders, we have that wisdom. You can see the girls in their 20s and that are still in that performative role. And you still see women in their 40s doing it too, right? But we don't have to anymore. So we can be
Yes.
that selective. And I think that's the beauty of being a hybrid in the leadership, kind of rewrite leadership for women right now is brilliant because we're doing it in real time. So for me, with my daughter, and as you know, I have an older boy as well. But from specifically for my daughter, she learns exactly from me standards, tolerance. She sees me in my business, and that's in her inherited blueprint. How I act around my business and my leadership, I'm telling her this is the way it's going to be. So I'm a little bit more even conscious and cautious around that because she won't see me down in DMs. She won't see me freaking out. She won't see me discussing business. She'll see me doing what I have to do and then conducting myself and then doing the other bits. And that ties into what I said to you, the woman that can have it all. Because I'm consciously aware that our small people are watching us. Now I'm not a parenting coach, as you know,
Yes.
but
And you're
leadership
you're
doesn't
you're
change.
you're consciously aware of building that life as well.
Mm,
So how would you say you protect your energy?
sleep. Sleep for me. Like we had a siesta today. We were in the sea this morning, 7:45. We swam until We did about 90 minutes, and I do get about 15,000 steps a day, every single day. Naturally tire my body out, which is kind of easy when
Yes.
you when you have her. The silver lining. um,
Yes.
yeah. Sleep. So we had a siesta today, even though we're in Malta. We had a siesta. We'll borrow the Spanish term, um, and we just sleep. For me, it's sleep. I don't push or
Yes.
force anything. If I'm tired or overstimulated or overwhelmed, the laptop just gets closed and go at it again. But protecting sleep is really important. Yeah, I think
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I love
protecting that
that because
energy.
on Monday we talked, Monique, we talked about that. She talks about how
Mm,
much she sleeps and taking naps too. And I think
yeah,
it's so important for women to hear that, because when I work with women, sometimes we actually have to get over the limiting belief of that. Like, but no, I get really decent 6 hours. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just test things out and see what your body actually
yeah,
needs, right? Um,
6 hours.
what habits would you say, you shared about walking, you shared about sleep. What habits would you say have made the biggest difference in how you feel physically?
Not saying yes when I mean no.
Do you hear that, ladies? That made the biggest difference physically, which means preserving the energy.
Yeah.
Saying no when you mean no, saying yes when you mean yes. And
Mm.
so, what are you doing right now that would you say allows you to continue performing at the level that you're performing? Because I know that in your, like, you are the go-getter. Just like when I talked to Monique on Monday, you dive and you do, right? Like when you're
Mm.
doing work, you're doing work. When you're with your daughter, you're with your daughter. There's not
Mm.
this
No.
bleeding energy anywhere.
Mm.
So what would you say is allowing you to come to keep performing at this high level?
Boundaries, energy, um, standards, shameless standards. There's things that I will not do in business. Um, and in parenting. I always say this, and I think I ran a marketing there around that: know thyself or be sold thyself. I mean, you'll be sold an ideal, and then you'll be sold the gap. So when you really truly know yourself, like I've been working a lot with corporates lately, but I've been super niche in what I can do. Super niche. Absolutely nobody can do what I can do because I have flipped so that I am the only option for them. And that confidence comes from those standards. And if I break a boundary or drop a standard anywhere, that's a contagion in either personal leadership, and that goes, or professional. And that goes back to being your own watchdog in terms of leadership. Because leadership has been I can I digress slightly?
Yes, of
Um
course.
I didn't really know. I went back in 2018 and I've studied a lot over the years. I did a postgraduate in diploma in female leadership. And I said, what am I really going to do with this? I know now because the new wave of women are heading out in leadership and they're building quietly. They're building calmly. They're not out creating content. They're not in masterminds. They're not. They're just doing what they're doing and creating movements and creating impact. And you know, it's that power that comes from that quietness, that calmness. Calm is really, really powerful. Really, really powerful. And you can spot the women. You can spot the women that are doing this. And I'm genuinely excited for women in the next 5 to 10 years. I really, really am. There's 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 a new vibe. And having seen
Yeah.
3 economic cycles, this is the first time that I can go, yeah, this actually is really it. Because every time was like a false start, for so many years. And I think COVID compounded that. There was this big stagnancy. Like normal business has resumed again. People are ideating, they're creating, there's innovation coming out. It's exciting, really exciting for me, and for everyone. So I know I went a little bit off the point, but yeah, this is an exciting time. I think it's
I think. I think it's even deeper than that for women because women were not allowed to do so much. And like you said, your daughter's watching for you. We watched from our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers.
Mm.
And there's so much generational work that we're doing. And then women jumped into the workforce, and then women jumped into running businesses where men had a head start, so to speak,
Mm.
right? And women had to figure out their own way of communicating, doing business. How do we do all of this,
Mm.
right? And I feel like now we're coming to a point, and of course, with that, we're finally talking about the non-tangible things like the standards and the boundaries that
Mm.
we didn't see our mothers and our grandmothers have. And
Mm.
so I think it's all coming to that beautiful moment
Mm.
of we're talking about that, we're eliminating layers of that were put on us, we're shining more of who we were, and we're not shying away from it. I saw this lady
Yeah.
who said, there's that term, don't toot your own horn. And she says, who came up with that? He says, if I'm not going to toot it, who's going to toot it for me? And I love that because we've always been taught that, like, don't toot your own horn. It's like, no, wait, I do want to
Mm.
speak about how amazing I am because that doesn't diminish you. It
Yeah.
actually allows you space to lift you up as well and to show you
Absolutely.
that it's okay to do so.
Mm.
So I think that, and like you said, everything that you said too, it's like with COVID and everything, I think it's all compounding that women are truly stepping into this phase that we haven't seen, if ever, in the next
No.
5 to 10 years.
And we haven't seen it. Like we haven't. Contraception was the inception point. And I don't think that women just started businesses either. I mean, Rockefeller, he wanted a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. He
Yeah.
got that. It was the Industrial Revolution. He wanted a tax bill. He was able to, we were able to work out that we put half the rest of the workforce to work. We're going to have more taxes here.
Yes.
So women were the afterthought. But you know what? We survived. And now that dynamic, like the old paradigm has been dismantled. Like, and it hurts me, Dex. It really hurts me to see women still outperforming on that shame loop of I must do more, to keep pushing and white knuckling. And I was that soldier when I began, but it's no longer
Yeah.
necessary. It's no longer necessary because parity
No.
is already here. But as long as women keep performing and peacocking, as long as they
And
do,
I feel
further
I
away.
feel like there's the same gap in health because up until 20 some years ago, every research was done on men. Because
Mm.
the way they would view it is, well, women are too hormonal, they change too much, the risk of pregnant women, so we're just gonna do all the testing on clinical testing on men. And then
Mm.
whatever the results were, they were like, well, we'll just give women smaller doses, so we treat them like little men. And then there's this little whole gap, and that's why I stepped into this work, is there's this
Yeah.
whole gap of like bro biohacking, like cold plunge, get up at 2:45 in the morning, go to the gym. It's like, well, cool, bro, but I have kids, right? Like I
Yeah.
can't do all of that. And then on the other side, there's this other, which again, there's nothing wrong with biohacking. It's just that that's built for men, right? Generally speaking. And then there's this softer version of a woman stepping into the feminine and talking about energy and crystals and all of that. And it's like, I found myself in that gap. I was like, there's no space for me. I'm neither here nor there. And so I'm filling that gap for women now. It's like, no,
Yeah.
we actually, women over 40, the most understudied creatures on this planet. And it's
Yeah.
like, there is a space for us and we can do it
Yeah.
and we can still run with our energy. And like you said,
Yeah.
I can still be a go-getter, the ambitious, driven woman. I just don't have to work 12 hours a day every day for the
No.
next decade. There's no
No.
need
And
for
it's a
that.
choice. It's a choice.
It's a choice. I can
It's
if
a
I
choice.
want to.
Yeah.
It's just I have a
Yeah.
choice, and that's the beauty of it. Is if
Yeah.
you want to work less, you can, but you don't. If you don't,
Yeah.
you can work more. It's just let's do what's right for your body so you can run with that energy, as opposed to feeling like you have to settle for one or the other, because there truly is a gap. And I love that we just connected this. There was a gap for so long in everything, and we're starting to kind of clear the gap and move forward, and it's super exciting for women.
Yeah. No,
So
it is.
back to health and wealth, I guess, as we can say, do you believe that health and wealth are connected? Do you
Yeah.
believe that you taking care of yourself has a lot to do with your business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really do. Um, it's the biggest insurance policy. I mean,
Oh, I love that.
it is, it's an insurance policy. Because let's go back to the 11th of October 2024. Imagine I took the drugs from the doctor. I would have been in a matrix, in a system, dependent on something to keep me well. Okay? Whereas I put on my beat up old New Balance runners and decided, right, okay, podcast on, walk. And I've freed myself from that industry within an industry within an industry and taken back that control. Like my skin is better. My cycle is bang on. My sleep, everything just gets better. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. They're choices. I used to drink alcohol. I used to smoke. You make those choices and you weigh up whether you're subconsciously or not. I mean, what do you really want? And I realize in that mini microsecond under compression, that's when quantums happen. Somewhere in my brain, do I want to be taking drugs to manage this diabetes? Now, my grandmother was very diabetic. It's in the family, so I was susceptible to it. Or do I want to take control of this? So in that split second, I innately, I took control, and here I am. I was trying to do the math there. I think it's 54 pounds. I think it is that I weigh less. And the knock on from that, the weight was a symptom of so many other things that were there.
Yes, thank you.
And
yes.
When I decided to end my relationship with my daughter's father, that was a part that I could actually then, that started to take care of itself. And it goes back to that decision. It goes back to so many different things. The first domino is decision, be it health, be it wellness, be it relational, be it business, that is the first domino. But there's so many people that, through no fault of their own, are afraid to take that step. And you can rewrite possibility just by that decision. Yeah. So my health is really, really good, and I'm very grateful for that. But I do the work.
The business insurance policy, I'm totally taking this and running with it.
Go over it.
That's exactly it, because our business is a reflection of us, right?
Yeah.
And so even if we have everything set up, even if the business is even running with us hardly even being there, if we don't have our health, what is it for? Right? And so again, going back to that choice, I want to have a choice of whether I want to work 10-hour days or whether I want to work 2-hour days or whether I just want everything to be passive. But that choice gets taken away when we don't have that insurance policy, like the health.
And as entrepreneurs, we talk about risk and reward, right? The riskiest thing that you can do is not look after the basics, and health is seen as a basic, but people are off chasing fancy 10-step funnels to heaven. Okay, beautiful, fantastic. But how are you feeling? How's your emotional health? How's your mental health? The amount of women that I meet that are on the cusp of burnout, and next I need to say this, they're not burnt out. They're focusing on the things that don't matter to them. And all the while, everything else is crumbling and is becoming a symptom of something greater. People are moving with what is mooted as the next big thing. When I say to them, look, barefaced, step back, take away the shiny shit. What do you actually want? Women cannot answer that. What do you actually want?
It's usually going to, and this is important to say, is so that listeners can do this exercise. When you state what you want, you can do this with other people. Ask them what they want. They're going to start listing everything they don't want. And to women, it's, again, to me, from what I've seen, because it's deeply ingrained into it, that we push our needs and wants aside for everyone else's needs and wants. So even our needs don't come before someone else's wants. And so 40s start changing that. And it's like, okay, not only that I have needs, but now I'm stepping into my wants. Wait, am I am I allowed to want things? What is it that I actually want? And then the first time we list things, it's all the things that we think we should want. And then when you redo this exercise and you're like, oh, that's what I actually want. Am I allowed to have that? Right? Like it's one layer after another, stepping into that of discovering what I actually want, because and I've had this with clients so many times. I'd ask them, what is it that you want? And the answer comes sometimes not only just as what they don't want, it comes as if, what is it that others want and need? And I'm like, no, 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 no. What do you want? And then she'll go into it again and then end up with talking about her kids or something. I'm like, no, 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 no. You. And it's like, I don't know. I don't. And the brain doesn't want to do the exercise, right? Because it's new. It's unknown. So the brain's like, let's just do something else. Like, let's clean. Oh, this chaos. I have to clean up. Or I have to do that. Stop and ask yourself, what is it that you actually want? I think it's so powerful.
Can we name the fuel for her, the way she is there? Shame.
Good.
Shame. Everything is built on that.
Shame.
That is the fuel. That is the lubricant. I shouldn't feel that.
Shame.
Women being emotive creatures, and to evoke that shame of, you must want this because that becomes that's the hamster wheel. That's the catalyst for them. And this is why when women can answer to me what it is they want, we can go anywhere from there. You know, I have a lady flying in from the UK. She's flying into Malta for a 1-day fly in, fly out thing. She can tell me categorically, unequivocally, this is what she wants. Easy peasy. Done. It is done. The second she gets on the plane, that conviction that's bent around, it's done. It's already there. Right? All we have to do is go through the semantics and go through what needs to be done. Fantastic. Yes. It's the women that are in that indecision. But growing up in good old Catholic Ireland in the 1980s, right? That oppression, we couldn't want what we wanted. So for me, I had to do a lot of work around there. A lot of work. And I know this is slightly rolling back a little bit, but the reason I'm sitting in Malta today is there was one Tuesday afternoon, Lex, and I had been in a relationship with Evan's father for 19 years, and I was in a relationship with Abe's father for 5. And it was just a normal Tuesday afternoon. I said, I don't want this. There had been multiple things, and I just said, I can't do this. I just can't. I can't have my daughter. It was around the time that I'd done my postgrad, and I said, I can't do this. And I closed the laptop. I walked out the door. I lived in a hotel for 7 days. I swung her on my hip, packed a nappy bag, called a taxi, and just started again. And everything fell into place. Everything. But I knew what I want. I knew I just didn't want it. I had said it out loud. I'd uttered it. Now we're thriving, and he's thriving, and it's all fine. It was never going to work. But leaders go first. I had to go first and say, right, this is not working here. And because of that, the conviction bent around that. The possibility was rewritten, and everything fell into place there. But I knew what I wanted, and I think that's the key, because if you don't know yourself, you'll be sold a version of yourself. And time ticks on and waits for nobody. And you know, when we're looking to our parents and the women that went before us, they did what they could. Are we really doing all that we can? And, you know, my nana had a saying, and that woman was a visionary. Because in my mid-40s, I now go back and go, wow. I need to write your book, Nana. There's no softer pillow than a clear conscience, she used to say. Now, I remember looking at that word conscience when I was about 7 and going, my God, it's a huge word. You know, we were about 7 going, my God, there is that saying rings true in so many different facets of my life now. Because when you have that clear conscience in everything that you do, it's an amazing space to be in. But it comes from the clarity of knowing what you want. That's the inception point.
One more word besides shame is feeling selfish. That is one of the most common things. Like I'll name shame for a woman. I'm like, okay, you're feeling guilt and shame. I know it. Let's work through that. But oftentimes she'll say, I don't know. I just kind of feel selfish. I'm like, yeah, we got to rephrase what that actually means, right?
Yeah.
Because again, if I'm brought up to always put other people's needs and wants in front of us, in front of me, of course it's going to feel selfish at first. And I've seen this in families where I work with a woman. There's a little bit of a disruption because like everybody else is freaking out, like she's changing. What's going on? I don't know what that means for me. And then they see how happy she is and how energy is different, how everything's different. And then they're like, oh, I need more of that, right? And then they let the woman do what she needs to do. And to me, understanding the guilt and the shame and slowly working on eliminating that, making that decision and still working through the guilt and shame and feeling selfish because you made that decision is probably the most powerful thing that a woman can do.
Totally agree with you. That selfishness does run through. And that's the worth, that self-worth and the need for validation, right? And you know this, and I know this. And if that is fueling the business and the life, it's going to be very empty, isn't it? It's going to be very empty. Whereas a rich real life is when you can name, this is what I'm working towards. This is, you know, there was a time where I dreamed of being able to wake up on the Mediterranean and go early morning sea swimming. But I could do that in Ireland. I just probably would die of hypothermia, right? But this time it's a nice and balmy 27-degree sea. You know, there was a time where I thought about that. And, you know, I always talk about decision boards over vision boards. Decision boards over vision boards. You decide it, you do it, that's it, it's done. That is done. And when we talk about the women that went before us, those women had to be like that. You know, we have this idea about these ball breaker female leaders in this masculine arena. They had to be like that because that was the construct of what women should be in society to get ahead at that stage. We don't have to play that part anymore. You know, this is different. And yeah, it's an exciting time for us. It really is. Yeah.
One thing I want to mention is women, when they first come to me, they usually are dealing with things like, you know, the 40s hit them, right? Like it can be anxiety, it can be panic attacks, it can be low energy is a big one, right? Like feeling no energy. And I just want to mention that I kind of mentioned on the other call on Monday is when these things run your life and you don't really address them, you can't get to what Aoife and I are talking about because you are trying to survive the day. So the idea of talking about what you want, you're like, I just want energy. You can't see beyond that, which is why we're having this conversation to show all the possibilities once we step into the best version of ourselves, once we start optimizing ourselves. Because when I have energy and when I feel like myself, I have choices and I can see beyond how am I going to make it through today? How am I going to make it through the next quarter? How am I going to, right? We can see beyond that. And then all of this that we're talking about becomes real. And whoever is listening or viewing this, if you're like, I just don't feel like, I know that low energy and anxiety can kill your ambition after months or years of doing it. But Aoife is a perfect example of someone who was not in the right place for herself and just said, you know what? It's a decision. And what's interesting about the word decision, I teach this to my clients, is it comes from the Latin words decidere, which means to cut off everything, meaning cut off everything else that doesn't align with this decision. That's why I love that word. And I think that it's one of the most powerful things we can do in our life.
It absolutely is. You cut the hand that feeds. Too many, you know, open tabs, too many half-made decisions. That's what's going to fuel that anxiety. And what you said there was powerful, Lex. Really powerful. We can over-egg the pudding, right? It's really simple. What do we want? And then decide it is done. But what you said there about that low energy and what I said earlier about champions are brilliant at the basics. starting with those 3 meals, going to bed that bit earlier. Quantum leap is a series of micro steps that compound. It's not this big quantum leap, this epiphany of, it is that it's repetition is mastery. And then all of a sudden we become that master, and that capacity is there, and that space, that clear thinking, that clear head.
Yes.
The basics here, and there's anything but is your work is basic, but it's getting started to do that, and realizing that it gets to be this easy.
Yeah.
Like it gets
Yes,
to
I
be,
love that.
it gets
Yes.
it's these simple things that just compound, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of
Yes.
getting older.
That's why I tell people, like, what we do is we're tweaking things. And yes, we'll look into nutrition, we'll look into sleep, we'll look into the mindset, we'll look into environment. But it's all about these little, like you said, micro tweaks, right? Like, I can't get to work out. Well, let's find what works. Maybe a walk works. Maybe for me, it was a timer. Adding a timer changes my whole zone, my whole
Yeah.
energy when it comes to working out. Looking deeper into how do we incorporate these things into our life without losing who we are,
Yeah.
rather than I have to change this whole lifestyle. And no, you just have to tweak what you're doing so we can get rid of anxiety, so we can get rid of
Yeah.
brain fog, so we have that sharpness. Because if you have these things messing with you, that insurance policy is becoming a liability, right? Like you can't step into that next version of you.
Absolutely
I
not.
love this conversation so much because it's talking about so many more aspects rather than just, oh, health, wealth. There's so many colors in between. So tell me, you've built obviously so much stuff. What do you think, and you've seen so many women change, what do you think women are really craving for right now?
Oh, what women are really, really, really craving. Acceptance. Acceptance of self. I think that we're at a big turning point. I'm going to speak in business, I suppose, from a corporate and from a private point of view, private client point of view. Women are done. They're literally done. My clients are, as I said to you earlier, a little bit more unconventional, a little bit more peculiar, a little bit more single-minded. They're done. They're done with performative stuff. And I think, I mean, I scratched my head and covered going, this isn't the way business is, but we went with it. Normal life, normal business has resumed, and women have taken that, digested, and they've come out clearer. They've come out clear what it is. I think women are getting closer to knowing what it is that they want, but probably are a little bit nervous still to make a start. They're a little bit fearful. But I think it's the acceptance. For me, I keep hearing, I just want to go to work and not have to do X, Y, and Z, or I just want to, they want uncomplicated, simplistic living. And I think actually one client said to me this morning, she wanted her business to fund the life that she actually wants. And I thought, yeah, most women are running scripts. And that's down to that societal paradigm that was projected upon us that's now been dismantled, but had been our comfort zone for so long that now we don't know, oh, Jesus, what's next? So, yeah, I think we're right in the middle of that shift, Lex. But acceptance is something I've heard this year over and over and over and over again.
Yes. What is a conversation that your audience needs to hear more often?
Fail fast, fail often. Fail fast, fail often. No shame loops. Get in, get it done. Speed this year. Speed is just your best friend this year.
Yes,
Speed.
yes, I love speed. I
Speed.
love, oh, there's that saying, money loves speed, right?
Money loves speed.
Love it.
Money absolutely loves speed in everything that we do. Everything. And that comes from that guttural leadership as opposed to like cognitive leadership. Gone, put it in the bin. It's getting into your guts and being
Yes.
fast about it. Yeah.
Fast
And if you make
movement.
a
I love it.
mistake, meh, just keep going. Just
Just
meh.
keep going. Get up. Dust
Yeah,
yourself
you're
off
ahead
and
of.
keep going.
If you've made a
So if
decision
someone
and you're
wanted
into a
to,
point, go on.
if someone wanted to learn more from you, where do we send them? Where would you send them first?
Okay. I'm active on both Facebook and on LinkedIn. So, and barefaceleadership.com or aoifetynan.com are my websites.
And what are you working on with them these days?
I'm working on compressed time. Going back to the speed, I have developed an alternative to the containers that my clients just don't want. So it's either the fly in, fly out, or online, where they can be 6 months ahead of those waiting to make that decision. So I'm fully booked out for summer for decision days, where people come in, they've been sitting on something. They're like a hen sitting on something for so long, and they're coming out and we're going to architect that. And then they'll fly home and it will be done. So these women are change makers, actual change makers. They're doing it in real time. And there's a few good men in there too. So I can't actually, I've been marketing to women all this year, and I've never served as many men as I have, even by marketing to women. And that's energy, you know, it's the energy.
Yes.
So yeah, people don't want to wait. They don't wait for transformation. So what I do is I front end the transformation. So we start there, get it done, get on, and no faffing around. Just
So who's not the right person for you?
oh God, anyone who and this is not a personal thing, but I suppose people that still need to be validated around making decisions, people that still feel that they need to be in a container of any description, a mastermind or anything at all. So I'm looking for the mavericks, I'm looking for the outliers, I'm looking for those that are backing themselves, that understand that nothing will happen until they take those tentative steps that are decided.
Decision. I think the word of this
It's
conversation is decision.
people can just save themselves so much time.
Yeah.
So much time. You know, I have this term, I know this goes out in many places, but I call it wish baiting. People will go in and they'll have this wish. And they will
I'm
do
gonna have to take
everything
that term.
except the thing to make it happen. So they'll join the
Yes.
mastermind and they'll use the framework and they'll fix the funnels, but they won't sit with the actual thing that will make it happen. And they'll sidestep. And I think you've touched on it, Lex. A lot of people don't know what they want. It's that shame. It's that, you know, that selfishness that they feel and all of those things that are compounded.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of synergy between what we do, but everything comes back to the decision. So people that are not willing to make a decision that changes everything are definitely not the people that I can help. And I don't think anybody can help them, to be honest with you. I really don't think anyone can help until you are ready to go, this is what's happening. There's nothing going to happen.
I remember when I was where I was, I remember everything. I cried out the whole day when I faced myself. This was in Nashville, Tennessee, circa 12 years ago, maybe. I remember it. I had a whole day. I faced myself. I cried it out. And then I was like, I'm not going to use this crying out as a way to justify how I seen it and understood it. I need to do the fucking work.
Yeah.
And so I want all the viewers and listeners to understand, again, like Aoife said, this is not a personal attack. We've all been there. We've all been there. We were at a place where we didn't know what the heck we want. I didn't know what I needed, let alone what I wanted. Then I had to go through all of that and then giving myself permission to want things and all of the stuff that we're talking about, we've been there, we've done that. We know the work ahead. And I love the word decide. This is the theme of today. On Monday, the word was depth. Today's decision. And I think that now every conversation is going to lead to one word. So if anybody's interested in working with Aoife, I will have all the links linked in the comments. You can find her mainly on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you can't, you can always reach out to me as well. I will get you in touch with Aoife. If you are wanting to grab my new offer, 3-minute energy reset for women who are tired of feeling tired, check out the links in the comments shortly and you'll have all the information there. Thank you for being here, Aoife, today and sharing your wisdom. This has been so awesome. And for anybody, women or men listening out there, just, you know what you have been self-negotiating with yourself about. So stop negotiating, make a decision, and then just take action. One tiny action forward. Thank you, Aoife, for being here, and thank you guys for watching.